Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Presha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sivaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 5, Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam, text number 19. Navaichano chatu katancha navrajen Navaichano chatu katancha navrajen Mukunda sevyan yavat angasangsritim Mukunda sevyan yavat angasangsritim Smaran mukundangri upagu hanam punar Smaran mukundangri upagu hanam punar Vihatumi chenna rasagraho chanaha Vihatumi chenna rasagraho chanaha. Okay, someone? Try. Mataji's? Navaijano chatu katanchana vrajen Mukunda sevyan vayat angasam smritim Smaran mukundangri upaguhanam puna Vyatumi chenna Na, never. Chanaha, a person. Chatu, at any time. Katanchana, somehow or other. Avrajat, does not undergo. Mukunda Sevi, the devotee of the Lord. Anyavat, like others. Anga, oh my dear. Samsmritim, material existence. Smaran, remembering. Mukunda Angri, the lotus feet of the Lord. Upaguhanam, embracing. Puna, again. Vihatum, willing to give up. Ichet, desire. Na, never. Rasagraha, one who has relished the mellow. Chanaha, person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. Purport. A devotee of the Lord automatically becomes uninterested in the enchantment of material existence because he is rasa graha, or one who has tasted the sweetness of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. There are certainly many instances where devotees of the Lord have fallen down due to uncongenial association, just like fruitive workers who are always prone to degradation. But even though he falls down, a devotee is never to be considered the same as a fallen karmi. A karmi suffers the result of his own fruitive reactions, whereas a devotee is reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord himself. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. An orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care of him. But a beloved son of a rich man, although he appears to be on the same level as the orphan, is always under the vigilance of his capable father. A devotee of the Lord, due to wrong association, sometimes imitates the fruitive workers. The fruitive workers want to lord it over the material world. Similarly, a neophyte devotee foolishly thinks of accumulating some material power in exchange for devotional service. Such foolish devotees are sometimes put into difficulty by the Lord himself. As a special favor, he may remove all material paraphernalia. By such action, the bewildered devotee is forsaken by all friends and relatives, and so he comes to his senses again by the mercy of the Lord and is set right to execute his devotional service. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that such fallen devotees are given a chance to take birth in a family of highly qualified brahmanas or in a rich mercantile family. A devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put into a position seemingly of helplessness. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. The fallen devotees born in a good family may forget the lotus feet of the Lord because they are less fortunate, but the devotee who is put into a forlorn condition is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around. Pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that the devotee becomes automatically uninterested in material enjoyment. That is the sign of perfection. In progressive devotional service, a pure devotee continuously remembers the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna and does not forget him, even for a moment, not even in exchange for all the opulence of the three worlds. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjanasalakaya Chakshurmilitam Nina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamahang Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Navaichano chatu katanchana vrajen mukunda sevyanyavat anga sangsritim smaran muktangri upagu hanam punar vihatum ichen rasa graho janaha. My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down some or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers, etc., because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. Here is the glory of devotional service described, contrasted with karmic activities in suffering. It might happen that a devotee falls down, and the comparison is given here, or it's said here, that this is not like the ordinary fall down, and Prabhupada says, like of a karmi or a fruitive worker who is always prone to fall down, always prone for degradation. So a material person is always prone for degradation because he is very much in contact with material nature and cannot see the spiritual substance behind it. So the materialist is always degraded. He's always fallen, actually, and suffering. So sometimes it might happen that a devotee falls down, and Arjuna is also asking this question. Prabhupada quotes here in the purport, when Arjuna asked this question of, "O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?" So he wonders, what happens if with a yogi who falls down, who is not ending his spiritual life and going then to the supreme destination, so that the samsara, the circle of birth and death, is over? What if he doesn't make it? If he doesn't make it to the end? And then later he asks, is he not like bereft of spiritual and material goals? Is he not like an riven, this word is interesting, English word, riven cloud? In Sanskrit the word is chinna. Chinna means also cut. So a cloud which is separated in two, and it will kind of dissolve. Yeah, so he has no goal. He has not reached the material because he gave it up. Sannyasa, yoga, everything giving up, renouncing, going to the forest, meditating. Right? So this is gone. No, everything, I missed it. Sometimes the people say, so what do you have in life? Right? What if this is all not true? And later you say, no, what have I done? I gave up everything. And the yogi, so he gives up material, this he couldn't reach, and the spiritual he cannot reach because he doesn't make it. So there comes the mercy in of Krishna, where he says, no problem, because spiritual activities are not temporary, and the results of spiritual activities will stay even in the next life. And it's very interesting what Krishna says, because he says, by virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So after Arjuna's doubt, he asks, so what will happen? Then Krishna, he cools him down, he pacifies him and says, no problem, he will be born in a very nice family, either of brahmanas, of shuchis, or srimatam, means like rich people, merchants, like these mercantile people. So either brahmana, so you're in a pious family, from the beginning you have some religious sentiment, this is taken care of, your spiritual life is taken care of. Or if you're born, or someone is born in a rich family, then also material needs are taken care and he can practice spiritual life very nicely. But then he says, but if someone is very elevated, actually will become born in a family of transcendentalists. This is actually a devotee family. Then Prabhupada explains in the purport that he himself was born in such a family, and also his spiritual master. And he says, we met by the transcendental system. In this purport he says, we met by the transcendental system. They met. So devotee family is much higher, it's completely transcendental. So we can see how glorious the children are who appear actually in this movement. They are not just some fallen yogi, they are very, very elevated, that they are born in a devotee family. It's very special. So and after this, where someone can be pacified, okay, if I don't make it, it will continue. Then Krishna explains how someone comes back to spiritual life. And he says, automatically he's attracted, even though not seeking for it. Somehow we have affinity towards practices of spiritual life. And I think this is observable in our ISKCON movement, that devotees come and they have some certain attraction to aspects of devotional service, coming kind of from nowhere, right? And some are on this field and some on that field, or they get a book without having ever read much about it. Of course, most devotees have some knowledge about it, but still. And then they read it and, yes, of course, and that's it. They understand. This is not happening just because of now. Very often it's an progression. Also, the devotees, they read the books at home and have not met devotees. And he starts learning verses. I know that they start learning verses. And then later come to the temple, everyone's learning verses. It's somehow, so where he got it from? No? Or starting doing puja at home or things like this. So we can see this automatic attraction. Whereas others who come in contact with devotees feel no attraction. They don't understand. They don't get it. As Prito said a couple of days ago, no? Potatoes. It's a little harsh, but it's true. It's amazing how this simple point of you're not the body cannot be understood by some, right? It doesn't click. They have to make more Agyata, Sukriti, until sometime der Groschen fällt. German said, bis der Groschen fällt. No? It's interesting. Why is this? Groschen fällt means like a penny falls. And this means like understand something. German. So yeah, but the devotee or the aspiring devotee automatically feels attracted and picks up and starts where he left off. This is the glory of devotional service. I will speak a little bit later, but now another very merciful part of the Bhagavad Gita where this principle is explained very nicely. What is spoken here, that if the devotee suffers, this is not normal. As Prabhupada says here, gives the example of an orphan and a child of a king. The orphan is very poor and suffering, and sometimes the son of a king might suffer if the king punishes the son to teach him something, if he wants him to learn something. And it seems maybe the same, but it's not. The orphan is just poor, but the child of the king is taken care of through this suffering to make some advancement. In the same way, we might sometimes suffer and we wonder why. And we shouldn't lose faith. We should understand this is Krishna wanting to teach me something. There must be something in it. And if we have this vision, we can really learn a lot through the suffering. Where Prabhupada even says this is more desirable than living in opulent situation. Because you feel more dependence and helplessness and can surrender much better to the Lord. As Queen Kunti also says, please send always this suffering. It's very easy to remember you're very much there. Once I heard a radio show. I don't know how I came on this actually. But somehow this was a story told of captives. People get kidnapped in South America. Because South America, there are lots of these gangs and drug gangs and mafia, not mafia, but like these heavy guys. Actually, it's a very dangerous place. South America is very dangerous. Mexico, always people get killed, innocent often. So what they do, they like to kidnap people. And then just get money or just have protection or want to have other criminals released or something. It's very good to have a kidnap a person. A kidnappee, or how's it then called? A kidnappee? Huh? A kidnappee, yeah? Let's get a kidnappee. No. Hostage, yeah. Yeah, then we kidnap someone on the street, and then we call the mother. Or we kidnap the mother and tell the son, start chanting Hare Krishna. Become a brahmachari. Interesting. New technique. No, of course, we don't do this. So they kidnap lots of people, and sometimes they keep them in the jungle. Right? They know the jungle and all this, and they have camps in the jungle, and they move a lot to not be caught. And sometimes such a kidnappee, captivated person, a hostage, is kept for years. Sometimes they keep them, and sometimes they don't want to give back. They just keep them because as protection or whatever can happen. And they made a report and asked these people became freed and how was it, what was your experience, and they told they wanted to see what was happening. And quite some, actually one told the story that in the beginning it was so bad. You're kidnapped, you're under control of some criminal and you cannot do anything. Your freedom is taken and it's really, really bad. You live in a very bad situation. And they were frustrated and crying and angry. And it said sometimes they moved from camp to camp, and when they walked through the jungle, this person was telling, I was arguing because I believe in God, and I was arguing with God. How can you do this to me? And I was angry with God, and I was cursing God, and I was so angry I couldn't understand what's going on. Why? Why? Oh my God, why? And it was so terrible. And at one point, somehow, he told, I had some enlightenment and understood, or understood that God is there and He's here for me and protects me and I should surrender. And he started praying, oh my dear Lord, please help me, and even thanking the Lord to come in such an intense situation. We had to contemplate so much and have such an intense conversation with God. So, and from then on, this captivation was very blissful. He said it was very blissful. Every day I was talking with God, I was surrendering, I was praying intensely. And he was a businessman, and everything was great and wonderful. And then when he came out, he was a completely different person. He saw the world completely different. And he was so happy that this happened. He said, if this would not have happened, I would never have changed my mind. Yeah? And quite some told like this. So from the outside, suffering and pain is terrible. Like one of my good friends, he got a couple of years back a very strange sickness and nobody knew what it is, and now he's a little bit retarded through this or very handicapped by this. And everyone who knows him says, oh my, how is he doing? And it's so terrible, cannot move really, speaking difficult, all this. Right? But then I tell them, I said, who knows how he experiences it. We think from our point of view, but he says actually it's okay. And he says, I only chant the whole day. I read, and it makes me more serious. And he's really not in good shape. If you see it from outside, you're like almost shocked. So suffering can be good. And every Sankirtan devotee knows this. When is Sankirtan not painful? We all say, Parang Vichayashri Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. Yeah, this is just, we want to get you in, but actually it is like a commercial, We promise you something, but actually what you get is lots of beating. Lots of beating on the ego, but which is very liberating. Yeah, so and then you have to surrender, and you have to really, in the suffering, we have to really, be serious and, go deeper actually. Lots of deeper. That's the reason why Vijay Prabhu says this, the Sankirtan verse, the formula for successful Sankirtan, the Sankirtan verse is Tatenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritang vipakam rit vak vapurbir vidadan namaste chiveta yomukti padesa dayapak. And in this verse is explained by Brahma, who experienced lots of suffering, not lots, but he got some suffering. He explains that if someone experiences the threefold miseries, but knowing that this stems from the sinful activities of his past life, and in such a painful situation surrenders or offers obeisances with his mind, his speech, and his body to the Supreme Lord. So even though you suffer, you offer your obeisances with your mind, with your speech, and your body. For such a person, mukti is his rightful claim. Meaning, he will get it for sure. This will happen. If you have such a consciousness, even the worst trouble, the worst, biggest problems, you're still, oh my Lord, thank you. That's great. That's wonderful. No problem. Then we are eligible for the highest goal. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he changed actually the word mukti to bhakti, which was technically not correct. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, it cannot do. But internally it said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was pleased, meaning confirmed, meaning bhakti pade. If we have this attitude, we will get pure bhakti. So from an outside point of view, we cannot see, and from inside, when we experience the suffering, we have to deal with it, because it will come. It will come, and especially if we haven't understood, then we will have a big problem with Krishna. As devotees, we'll have a problem with Krishna, because we know you are in everyone's heart, in every atom, you control everything. I'm your devotee, and you make me suffering. Why? How can you do this? It will be very difficult. So we have to learn this, we have to train this attitude of understanding that it is good. Maybe I don't see in the beginning, but it is good, and we have to find the good in it. And then we can appreciate lots of advancement. As it said here, the Father is correcting. This is His mercy. He's helping, and it's different. So what I wanted to say, in this 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called Most Confidential Knowledge, it's the king of knowledge, it's the Raja Vidya Yoga, right? It starts where Krishna says to Arjuna, now will reveal more confidential knowledge to you. Most confidential. Guyatama means like the supreme secret. And if you know this, Gyatva, meaning if you know this, you will get free of all miseries, of all problems. And then Krishna glorifies this knowledge as Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Susukham Kartum Avyayam. And if you don't believe this knowledge, if you don't accept this path, then you will fall down and stay in the circle of birth and death. Samsara, what's that? Samsara Mrityu Vartmani, you stay on this path of repeated birth and death. So better understand. So what is it? And then Krishna explains his supreme position, many things. But to the end of the chapter, then he comes to a point where he says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu nametveshyosti na priyaha ye pachanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyam. He says, I am equal to everyone. Yeah? I am equal to everyone. I don't consider someone very dear. Neither do I hate someone or reject someone. I'm completely neutral. Ye pachanti tumam bhaktya, but someone who is surrendering to me is in bhakti. Mai means in me, te, he is in me, maite teshu chapyam, and I am in him. And Prabhupada translate, I am a friend and he's a friend to me. He's in me and I'm a friend to him. So this is what Krishna says. He singles out again the devotee. He is not normal. Someone who surrenders to Krishna is not normal. Krishna considers this very, very valuable. And then in the next verse, this is 29, I quoted, in the next verse, very famous verse, he makes a point, a very strong point, how dear his devotee is to him. Where he says, Api chet suduracharu bhajate mam ananya bhak sadur eva samantavya samyak vyavyasito hisa. Even though this devotee who is very dear to me, what I explained to you, he does the most abominable activity. Suduracharo means like very, very bad. Yeah, durachar means bad, dur means bad, achar activity, but su means very bad. If he is still my devotee, surrender to me, he has to be seen as a sadhu. Don't see him otherwise, he's a sadhu. That's how Krishna sees it. So we can think, how is it that we fall down? Suduracharo, horrible activity. Even though Krishna will love us still, we should not do it, right? We should not, if I do it then Krishna loves me more? No, he will not. No, we should not do it. Prabhupada explains in his purport, we should never misuse this verse in doing sinful activity, which is actually the worst offense against the chanting of the holy name, to commit sinful activities with belief in the strength of the holy name and bhakti and all this. Yeah. So we're thinking, what is it why we fall down? Right? Or someone falls down. It's because of inattentiveness, if you're not careful, if you don't have sufficient good qualities, if you are lazy. Yeah. And most of the time it's sexual deviations. I think so as well as we hear that often devotees, even sannyasis falling down, so it has very often to do something with sex. Meaning, this is very dangerous. Meaning is we have to be very careful. Yeah. And it's said that Arjuna asked this question also, Krishna, how is it that someone commits these sins? Even unwillingly, he doesn't want to. Right? So why is someone falling down? Even nobody wants to fall down. No, what will I do today? Okay, at 12:30 I do the artik and then I fall down. Yes, how do I fall down? I will do something very bad. Nobody plans this. This happens. Right? But actually it does not happen. It does not happen. There are reasons. If someone falls down, there are always reasons before. It's not just happening like this. Like, I fall down now. Right? I step off the Vyasadam, give this lecture, and now I fall down. Yeah? It happens only if we're not protected by our sadhana, by our spiritual life, by our association with devotees. If Prabhupada says if we follow 4 regulative principles, if we follow this, we're always protected. Actually, Prabhupada says you cannot fall down. Very often Prabhupada says you cannot fall down. If we follow the path, Mahachano Yena Gatasa Panta, we cannot fall down. We only fall down if we don't do it right, if we become lazy, if we're not careful, if we don't abide by the rules and regulations, then these weaknesses creep in. And always heard this example, I don't know which Shastra it is, but I will tell it, it's quite illustrating. Imagine you are riding the train in India. Yes, very nice. Train India, third class train. So you have not your seat booked. You just see a seat. Oh, and you sit there. I'm happy, I have a bench. So you sit there, and then some nice, humble, simple Bengali man comes. Thin, very thin, right? And he sees, there's some space, yeah. And he asks, oh, can I sit? It's okay if I sit. And you, maybe not, but okay, I don't want to be like this. Yes, please, no problem, sit. And then he sits. He squeezes in a little bit, so the place is filled. There's a little, maybe it's there. And suddenly, some other small guy, his child comes. And he says, yeah, come. And you have to go a little bit more, and he will come. And then second, and third, and then the lady comes. His wife comes. Yeah. And he will also make space. She will put herself in, and you fall off the bench. So I heard this example was given. With Anarthas and Maya, if we're not careful, we think, this is just a little Maya. I know it's not ideal, but it's not so bad. And she will creep in this little space of your undetermination. You will see, and Maya is tricky. This is her job, to bewilder us, to present things which are really bad in such a way that you think it's really good. She's perfect. And what is this? Maithuna Agara. This is her supreme weapon. The shackles of sex life. The chains of sex life. This is her best weapon. Because it looks good. It feels good. It only has the impression of wonderful and great and good and all this, right? But it's really bad. It's really bad. Right? It's terrible. Yeah? It's not condemning, it's true. Because we're not the body, we're the soul. What do we have to do with these activities? So that's the reason why everything around Maithuna has to be very carefully dealt with. And where's Maithuna happening? Between man and woman. And the example is given, I think it's in 9th canto. Narada Muni says that man is like butter and woman is like fire. So everyone knows this. So the example is given, if they come too close, the butter will melt. The determination of the man will melt. And that's the reason why the whole Vedic society divided men and women. Divide. And even in Grihastha ashram, when they live together, still dividing. The woman has her place to live, the man has his... I know many ISKCON devotees who are very strict. The woman has her place to sleep, the man has his place to sleep. They don't sleep even in the same room. This is very exemplary. This is Vedic society. Yeah. Prabhupada says the woman should be very surrendered to the husband. Should only think about the husband. Should not see other men. And he says, and the man is similar also. Not dealing with other women, and the woman not dealing with other men. Yeah. So all this. But why is it? Because we are not the body, we are the soul. And the mission of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And especially this lust, this is what I wanted to say. So Arjuna asked, how is it that someone acts against his principles even, against his will? And of course, Krishna says the famous verse, Kama esha, Krodha esha, Raja guna, Samutpava. Mahashano mahapapma, Vidi inam iha vairinam. The last line is important. Vidi means know. Vidi inam iha vairinam. Know this unsatiable enemy. He says this is your worst enemy. What is this? Lust. Kama is lust. What? Unsatiable. Unbefriedigbar. Yeah? Unsatiable. And he says, know this enemy. So we should be very self-reflective and understand what is this lust and how can I become free of it. Which is not only lived out, of course, in the sexual, but also in many, many other things. Ishvaroham aham bhogi, thinks the demon. I am controlling and I'm enjoying. So it's also in the subtle things of prestige, of honor, of I want to be in the center, I want to be worshipped, right? All this. So this is very interesting, that is an important point of the Bhagavad Gita. And in this point I want to mention, very interesting, how we can protect, and one is developing good qualities. Developing good qualities. And the Bhagavad Gita is full with good qualities. Oops, no. So many lists. Everyone reads Bhagavad Gita and everyone knows so many lists of good qualities. So, and it's amazing if we would have just one of them. Self-control and honesty and tolerance and whatever. So, and the translation of these qualities in German, at least, it's Tugend. And Tugend means virtue, good qualities. In the Sanskrit, it's different because we translate, especially in German, the Sattva Guna, one of the three modes, as Tugend. It's translated, but in English it's goodness. So actually, Gutheit, what is good, would be the better translation, but somehow devotees came to Tugend, which is okay, it's a complicated term to translate. But Tugend in German has a more specific meaning. And I looked it up. Tugend, where is it actually coming from, this word, Tugend? Because I like to see where the language, how it developed. And it's in Latin, it's also virtus. Virtus, it's in Latin. So we have it in English, virtue. So this is the word virtue. In German, it's coming from the old German word. Of course, now the lecture should be in German too. For the English speaking is maybe not so relevant. From the word taugen. Right? There's what Tugend kommt. Taugen. Tauglichkeit. I don't know how it's in English. Tauglichkeit. Usefulness almost. So taugen means useful, being useful. So you can be useful if you have Tugend, good qualities. That's what it means. That makes a person useful if the person has good qualities. Tugend. And through the ages here in Middle Europe, they were thinking about it. Also in Old Greek, it said Plato. Was I making this? No. Also Plato, they were thinking, what are the Tugenden, the virtues? So this was very important, that a person has good a virtuous character. Which is nowadays only, what is this? Marginal interesting, right? Nowadays, we know it is good to be good, but it's not so systematically understood. But in former times, it was something, and I looked further what this was written there, and it's interesting that in German it said Kardinaltugend, means like the primary Tugenden, and there are four, which were considered in the Middle Ages, this Kardinaltugend. Cardinal means like major. One was wisdom, then Gerechtigkeit, justice, Tapferkeit, brevity, being brave, and Mäßigung, kind of regulation. So this was considered very important. Because there are many, many, many good qualities, but these were considered the most important. To be smart, or full of wisdom, to be just, to be brave, and to be controlled. Mäßigung. And then also another one, there was the divine Tugenden, the divine virtues. There were three. From the Christian point of view, it was faith, hope, and love. So these were considered divine, or very important to live a divine life. To have faith, hope, and love. And then there were the 7 very famous Todsünden. How is it said in English? I don't know if it's, but in German it's the Todsünden, death sins, the real bad ones. And actually they have the death sins, but also of course the virtuous qualities. So they gave actually virtuous qualities, and was the opposite of this is really, really bad and brings like straight in hell, so to say. So, and this I looked up, and then when you read this, and as a devotee, you say, of course, and we have it also, of course, in our book, so I wanted to read this, and see also the Sanskrit word, and some I could not find, but in general, we have actually more qualities, more defined even, but interesting. So the first was, I also said the Latin, sounds nice, humilitas. So, of course, it's humility, Demut in German. And this is amanitvam. In the list of knowledge, is in the list of knowledge in the 13th chapter, it's the first quality Krishna mentions. What is knowledge? What meaning knowledge is that what liberates you. And the first, what you have to have, amanitvam, means humility. And the opposite of humility, of course, is pride. Superbia in Latin. Superbia. So if you think you're better than others. And in Sanskrit, of course, it's in the 16th chapter. The first, I think it's the first quality of the demons is damba. Damba means pride. Yeah. Then the second one is given as caritas. Caritas, in English, charity. In German, it's Mildtätigkeit. And this is, of course, a very important quality throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita. It's one of the qualities for grihastas, it's danam. And in the 17th chapter, I think, also mentioned how you can do danam in the sattvas. So it's even more defined. Because not every danam is danam. Right? If you give danam, donations, out of disrespect, if you drop some donation, or to not proper person, it's actually tamaguna. It shouldn't be done. So it's even more qualified. But anyway. The opposite of caritas is avaratya, and that means greed. If you don't like to give, but you keep for yourself, and of course this is lobha, right? Lobha in Sanskrit, we have it there too. Then the third, very interesting, kastitas means chastity. Kastitas, castrate. He's by force the brahmachari, but this is not what we do. So brahmacharya, this is one of the Tugenden, one of the virtues. If you want to be, if you want to be a good person, from this point of view, you have to be chaste, right? And every devotee knows this. We have to be chaste. We cannot lust after people. And of course, the opposite is wollust. In German, it's wollust or lust. And this I found very interesting. The Latin word is luxuria, right? So luxurious lifestyle is expression of lust. It's not necessary, it's just lust. And this is something also we say, if you have all this riches, this and that. For brahmacharis actually said you shouldn't have much stuff, which is not so easy nowadays actually. I wanted to be free of it. I didn't want to have a cell phone even, but they had to have a cell phone, and now see I have this and that and so many things. And yeah, but if we use in Krishna's service, but we have to be very careful though. A couple of days back we had a brahmachari talk and I mentioned to be careful with sex life and all this. And I told them that one of the biggest problems nowadays for ISKCON devotees, also why they fall down or start illicit activities, is because of internet. Right? Also for brahmacharis, it's very dangerous. We have to be very, very careful of internet. Because it's very easy and everyone has a cell phone and nobody... And many fall down or fell down because of it, so we have to be very careful. So, luxuria. Yeah. Then the fourth is patientia, and this means patience. We have it in kshama, or what's another word? What is it? Utsanisha dairya. No, I think there's also patience. Of course, we have to be patient. And interesting, what's the opposite of patience? Ira. And ira means anger. Right? If you're not patient, then you're always angry. Why it's not happening as I like? Why it's not now? And you're angry and this and that, right? Well, if you're patient, and kshama is actually the better word. It's not just patience, also like tolerance. Because if you're tolerant, you cannot get angry. You accept, you're tolerant with things and you are not agitated. Patience, tolerance, kshama. Then so the fifth is temperantia, which means in German, Mäßigung. This is something like this balance. And I don't know the Sanskrit there, we could maybe put some words together or something. But of course we have it there in the 6th chapter where Krishna says to Arjuna, be, balanced in your recreation, in your eating, sleeping, all this. So of course this is a yogic principle. And the opposite of it is, in Latin it's called gula. And it's a Völlerei. Overindulgence, right? Overindulgence. Mita book in Sanskrit is mita book, not eating only what is necessary. Mita book, I think it was in the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. Then the 6th, humanitas, means humanitarian. In German it's Wohlwollen, similar to the charity, but Wohlwollen is more like priya, or seeing everyone equal, liking, something like this, because the opposite is invidia or envy. So envy, Prabhupada very often translate envy as hate. You recognize this? This word dvesha, very often he says hating or envy. He puts it almost on a similar platform. Because if you hate someone, or if you're envious of someone, you hate him actually. You don't gönnen. What's this word? Gönnen. Gönnen. No, ich gönne dir das. You know, I don't know what is the word gönnen in English. If it's okay for me, if you have something, right? It's okay, it's wonderful, it's great. If you have more than me or you're more advanced, sometimes this can be a problem for devotees. Oh, he's more advanced than me. And you feel envious, right? He distributes more books than me. He has more disciples than me. He took sannyas earlier than me. He's longer brahmachari than me. She has more children. She has a more beautiful husband. He has a more beautiful wife or whatever. He has more money or whatever, right? This can be amongst devotees too. So and the opposite is this Wohlwollen. No, it's perfectly okay. Everyone gets what he deserves. Because we have to understand, it's not about material things what make us happy. It's about Krishna. And Krishna is for everyone. No? We can't be envious because Krishna loves you. He loves me same. So if you connect with Krishna, there's no need for envy. And then the last, which I couldn't really find, but I could find the opposite. It's industria, industriousness, busyness, flies. You know, busy. I want to do something. And the opposite, of course, is Faulheit, Acedia, or Manda. Manda, laziness. So this is the opposite. Manda sumanda matta yo, manda bhagya hi upatrutaha, it's said in the first canto. This is one of the qualities of the Kali Yuga people. They are lazy. Very lazy. Manda. So in order to advance, we can think about this, because Krishna, he gives so many qualities in Bhagavad Gita and says, this is good, this is good, this is good, and we should work on them, we can work on them. Devotional service should be also to work on the qualities. Of course, it said, yes, yasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana savai gunaistata samasate sura, that a devotee has already all the good qualities of the demigods by itself, but at the same time, if you work on certain good qualities, especially those where we have problems with, some are more in the anger or envy or lust or illusion, madness. The 6 ones, what else? So we can especially work on these and pray to Krishna, to Nrsingadev. Please take this out, help me somehow. This is the prayer, so that we can advance. So to finish, I wanted to, actually I had so many other things, but it's okay. Again, this mercy of the Lord, to conclude with the mercy of Krishna, where it says this verse, apichet sudurachaya. So he said, all the others the same for me, but my devotee is very special, even if he falls down. So we talked a little bit on fall down, being careful, good qualities. Actually, we have to be very careful. We never know what comes. We have to always stay on track. Then we are protected. So then Krishna says, even if he falls down, he is still my devotee. And why does he say it? Because he is rightly situated. Kshipram bhavati dharm atma shashvas shantim nikachati kaunteya pratichanihi name bhakta pranashati. Very soon, Kshipram means very soon, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. He will become righteous. He will get on his feet and he will keep on going. Shashvat shantam nikachati. He will attain this peace and the good qualities, the everlasting situation. My dear Arjuna, declare boldly, my devotee never perishes. This is the verse. Kaunteya pratichani name bhakta pranashyati. Pranashyati means destroyed. He will never be destroyed. My devotee will never be destroyed. Even suduracharo, even doing really bad things. In time, he will get on his feet, Kshipram, very soon even, and he will continue and will be purified of it. So this is very merciful. And then Krishna makes the point even more clear in the 32nd verse, which is a controversial verse. Manghi partavya pashataya pisyu papayonaya. Papayoni means like almost, it means sinful birth. Yeah. And what is it? Stri vaishyas tata shudras. Women, laborers, and vaishyas. So they are by nature more fallen, because the body is conditioning the soul more. Yeah. But the verse is not condemning, because what does Krishna say? Even they will paramgatim, achieve the supreme goal if they surrender to me. For those people, it's actually very difficult to achieve the supreme. It's very difficult. No problem. Surrender unto me, I will take care of you. What to speak, and then next verse he says, of course, what to speak of Brahmanas and Punya, the righteous, and the Bhakta, and the Rajarishi. What to speak of them? Anityam asukam lokam imang bhajasva. What is it? That surrender unto me, worship me, to leave behind you this temporary and painful place of the material world. Surrender unto me. So Krishna, and then manmana bhavat, always think of me, right? Krishna declares. So meaning, we are all fallen, especially in Kali Yuga, right? And we can achieve the highest. As seen, right? We have so many advanced devotees in this movement, coming from very bad background often, but now very exalted. And sometimes even fallen in between, getting up on feet, keep on going, and become really pure. So this is the Krishna's merciful verses here. It's very nice how he puts it, actually, and that anyone can reach him. And Paramgatim, he says, the supreme goal. Even so, it's not like with a karmi who is in a sinful situation. He will go to hell. Krishna says also, 3 gates lead to hell, right? What is it? It's the greed, envy, what was it? And lust. Yeah. So these 3, they lead to. And he says the demons are perpetually cast into the lower species of life. So it's different. So devotee is different. Krishna loves his devotees. He will take care of them always and will always protect them. Okay, thank you very much.